Hey there, I am so glad you're here. Come on in and enjoy Coffee Chat at the Cubby Hole. Okay, you might be thinking, coffee sounds fun, but girl, what is the Cubby Hole? The Cubby Hole was a divine little nudge on my heart, if you will, to build this space in our basement, in our home, where our friends and family could come and receive encouragement and love. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I've always known that the Cubby Hole would have a ripple effect out into the world, that it could bring encouragement and hope, not just to people that could visit here in person. That is exactly why I do coffee chats. I get to take some of the coolest people that are just like you and just like me, who have skill and talent, but most importantly, they have a vulnerable, relatable story that we can all glean some hope and encouragement from. So grab a coffee, cozy up, and enjoy Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. I am so glad you are here. Oh, today's topic is going to be so needed. It is so needed in our world today. Today, we're going to be talking about people-pleasing and codependency, with sprinkled in a little bit of, have you ever given yourself grace? Those are going to be the three talking points today, and I can't wait, because I know in my world, and my friends, all of my friends, people that I talk to, people that we cross paths with in life, there's so many stories that come up that refer to this exact topic: people-pleasing, codependency. And what does that look like? What that looks like is, how does it show up in your world if you find that you're putting other people's needs first, before yourself, before your own emotional health, your own physical health? And codependency, when we rely so much on the validation of other people instead of standing firm on what we know is right for us, or having to have validation in somebody's opinion, or if they're not okay and they don't agree with us, then we're not okay. So it shows up in so many different ways. And then there's, not giving ourselves grace, giving everybody else in the world grace, but not finding grace for ourselves. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I can't wait. I'm going to bring in my friend, Sandy Mativa. She was Miss Michigan 1991. We're going to talk about that a little bit. She was Miss Michigan within the Miss America Scholarship Organization. She has been a music teacher for now 30 years. She is a mom, she is a grandma, and she is beyond beautiful. She's my friend. Hey, good morning, girl. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to have you here with me.
You are so amazing that you're doing this. Is just like, you amaze me. I'm sitting here listening and watching, and you're such a pro. It's so cool.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Well, this is what we were talking about earlier this week, is who knew? I mean, we were saying God knew, but when we knew each other so many years ago, in 1991 is when we met, when you were Miss Michigan and rocking that title. You were such a gracious, wonderful Miss Michigan.
Oh, well, bless you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, we were all in awe of you, watching you sing. You guys, I wish I had video. I have video somewhere over there in the storage room, and I don't even know if if it even works anymore, but video of you singing Amazing Grace. I mean, you know what? I should, if I find it and it does actually work, I'll record it and I'll put it in the comments. It'll be a iPhone recording of a recording. But
there you go. Like we said, back in the day, we didn't have Facebook, and we didn't have YouTube, and all of these things weren't available. So a lot of the things that I have just holding in my memory of other girls who had come before me.
Yes.
The footage just isn't there anymore, unless you happen to be one of those lucky people that has, a VHS.
Yes. You bought the deluxe video package and stuff. Oh my gosh, it was so great, and you were amazing. And let me just I want to put this up. Here's some pictures of you.
Oh dear.
Look at you. Oh my gosh, beautiful, just beautiful.
The hair, I had hair.
You and I were talking about this when in the 80s, we had our pictures taken, or senior pictures. Whose idea was it to backlight the hair? Like, it's filled with Aquanet. You can see straight through it anyway. And then let's draw attention to it and put a backlight on, isn't it?
I tell you, you couldn't do that to me anymore.
It's all.
I always say, my mom told me, she said, Sandra, I have one piece of advice for you. Just don't get old. And I didn't listen.
No. You did not take her. Because
I am a rebel.
Let me tell you right now, looking at you, I'm just going to say this. Grandmas don't look like grandmas used to look like at all. You don't look like a grandma. Oh my goodness.
You know what though? Thank the good Lord for makeup. I was thinking about this from because you made me go back and kind of relive my days. We were talking about the fact that I wasn't Miss Michigan my first time around.
Right.
It took me some practice. And I was thinking about this, that when my first pageant that I ran for, I was Miss Saginaw, and I won. And I had this mentor friend of mine, Michelle Perko, her name was, and she was Miss Saginaw before me. And she and I happened to be just in this singing class together, Act 1, Center for the Performing Arts in Saginaw. And she came up to me and she goes, I think you could be really good at pageantry. And I'm like, I am not your girl. I really, I was always the chunky. I was the chunkiest, goofiest.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When I started high school, I think I was like 165 pounds, and I had broken glasses right in the middle with tape. I was one of those people, and so she said, I really think you could do it. I think you could do it. So she gave me clothes to wear. She helped me pick out a song. And I remember I won Miss Saginaw. I was like, what just happened here? And I'm on the bus going to one of the events, and this girl sitting next to me had these beautiful long nails. And I just put some little pink polish on, I didn't know. And she had these beautiful long nails. I said, oh my gosh. I said, are those yours? And she said, bought and paid for, baby.
That's right. I love that story about you. First of all, I love that story. And what I love so much about that story is that it seems like young ladies that enter, that they feel like it's not for them, they end up doing really well. Like in your case, our friend Kirsten Haglund said she wasn't going to do it. And she entered, and then she won Miss Oakland County, then she won Miss Michigan, and then she won Miss America. And you know what? And you and I both have done judging in the Miss America organization. And I know, probably same with you, I look for the girls that they don't, I don't know. There's this element to them that's so authentic,
It's real. You look for something real.
Yeah. Yes. Like I get it. Like I sometimes do my nails. I'm into synthetic hair, synthetic eyelashes every single day of my life because I like it.
Right.
It's changed for me over the years. There's a different reason that I do it. It's not my identity anymore. And I love when the young lady, their heart comes through, their heart for other people. There's so many other things that I look for, and I'm sure you do the same as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes. And you can tell the girls that are thinking, maybe this isn't for me. And you're thinking, oh, yeah, I think it is.
You can just see it in them. You can see it in them.
Yes.
With the young lady that's Miss Michigan right now, I was really honored to have judged her when she won her local.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to watching
the
progress. Yep.
Yeah, so that's great. That's great to see. And in the Miss America organization, Dave, my husband David is very passionate about this, and then we'll move on to our topic. But when David started getting involved in the organization, he was telling everybody, do you know there's a big difference between the Miss America organization and the Miss USA organization? It's a scholarship program. And these girls, they do community service. They're serving, they're speaking on their platform, their topics that they're so passionate about. So great organization. Anyway, It was a joy that we were able to meet through that organization. And as I was saying, you were up there singing like an angel, singing Amazing Grace. And what is so cool as we dive into our topics today, you were singing Amazing Grace. And it dawned on me as we were talking, oh my gosh, because I'm always talking about how God has this tapestry of all of each of our individual lives. And he knows the thread. He's the thread through all of it, but he knows what's coming. Who would have known 30 years.
30 years.
I can't even, what? 30 years later, it doesn't even seem right. But it's a blessing that we be talking here today in a little space called the Cubby Hole on a show called Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole about one of the things we're talking about is giving yourself grace. And we're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But first of all, congratulations on your 30th year of teaching.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a huge blessing to me. It's been a huge blessing.
And I am sure you've been a blessing to many, not only teaching them music, but just all that you bring to the classroom, I'm sure.
Speaking of Grace, you might hear some crazy noise in the background. It's my little puppy named Gracie.
Perfect.
Who is playing with her bear. So if you...
I love it. Well, hey, if she pops up, Frankie just walked down to say hi. He walked by my. I'll grab him at the end. If he comes back down, you grab Gracie, and they'll say hi, and they'll be forever friends.
They'll be forever friends.
So let's dive in. So we were talking about people pleasing, and when we got on the phone, we didn't even know what the topic was. I just love to hear people's stories. I love to have time with my guest on the phone and just talk. They'll talk and I'll take notes. And what kind of transpired from that, the first topic was people pleasing.
Right.
But as a lot of people that watch this show know, my word on this show, my passion is stories, people and their stories. I like to shine a light on their stories, but I also like to help people mine out their stories because there's little golden nuggets that's showing us who's driving, quote unquote, driving our bus in our world, making our decisions, helping us to show up the way we're showing up in the world. So would you please start by telling the story of what happened in your life, that eureka moment in your life? It was very unfortunate. And that what you discovered years later by mining into your story in counseling.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you because earlier when we were talking, and this is so true, you have this big bundle of who you are and all these things that happen in your life. And talking to you the other day helped me realize that, and I have to say thank you because you're that sifter. That's what you do. You sift through people's stories and you get down to that little nugget of what's left. And that's the nugget of truth that's kind of shaped you to be who you are and make the decisions that you've made. And I don't really talk about this very often. So it's kind of interesting, to talk about for me because it helps me think through it even more. Sometimes the hardest things in your life are the things that just, they don't define you, but sometimes they refine you. Yes. But you have to you can't allow them to define you. You have to allow them to refine you. And I think that's huge. My story kind of started when I was 3. I was 3. My sister was 4. My little brother, I think, was 18 months. And my mom was pregnant with my youngest brother. Mm-hmm. And we were driving and we were in a car accident, not our fault. And our car flipped upside down into a ditch. And as a result of that, my dad passed away. Mm-hmm. And so here was my mom with 3 little kids and one on the way. And I just remember there being this blanket of sad. I was little. I think I have memories of it. I'm not sure if I made them up. You know how that is? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I created those myself, but what I do remember is a blanket of sad. And my goal was not to make my mom any more sad. Right. Yeah. I did not. I mean, I saw her cry. How could she not? And I saw her struggle, and my goal was not to be the one that was going to make her cry. Yeah. So kind of, I think that was the point where I turned into a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. So I wanted, and she'll even say, she said, from that point on, you turned in from the spunky little, like, you can't make me, little chick to a little old lady.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I turned into a little old lady at that point, and I've kind of been a little old lady at heart, since then. But that's kind of what started my journey of people pleasing, and I didn't know at the time. I probably didn't know until I think I told you, till I was like maybe 50, that had been kind of one of the forces that pushed me into every decision that I made, and into thinking that I was a strong-willed, strong person who was going to make it through anything, make it through this adversity and through that adversity. But part of it was that I just put myself aside and did what everyone else needed me to do, and it really made me squelch grace for myself. I found myself giving grace to everyone else. And what is grace? It's undeserved love, that Christ loved us while we were sinners. Undeserved love. And it never occurred to me until later in life that, you know what? Christ died for me too. And it's okay for me to give myself grace. And it's something that I hadn't done. And so it's something that I learned, and there's a blessing in every mess. There's been lots of messes, which means that there have been lots of blessings too.
Yeah. And what God has for us in it is that saying to turn our mess into a message. And that's exactly the beauty of being able to be here today and talk about it. We you and I, during the week, I was putting out the promo poster for the month of July, and I gave a little recap of each guest and what we'd be talking about. And for you, I put giving yourself grace. And you wrote and said, I hadn't, it was because we had talked about grace, God's grace, but you had said, I wrote that based on something that we had talked about earlier in the week, but you said, I always think of grace as something that God gives us. And it's not, it's hard to give ourselves grace. And that's when you and I started that dialogue about.
See, you sifted out that little epiphany for me.
And I wrote to you and I said, we were, still like talking about the details of what we were going to talk about today. And I said, when we talk on the phone, I have an idea. And you said, I want to hear your idea. And that was what crossed my mind is, have you ever considered that concept? Because you are such a beautiful human being. I mean, you've been teaching for 30 years. You have beautiful children, a granddaughter, and you're constantly giving grace. You've been married twice and had struggles there, and you were always giving grace. And so it does all boil down to that's what we get to learn as we go along. That, oh my gosh, that is true. We have to give ourselves grace, because first was the epiphany about people pleasing and codependency. And then it's, yeah. So you did, and I know you had shared details about your marriages, and we don't, I always want the guests to feel comfortable about what they're sharing, but what you learned in your marriage, there's a cat. Is that your
that's Tigger
and Gracie? What is there anybody else?
There are 4. There are more. I was a kitty cat rescuer. Speaking about giving grace, I mean, it's kind of where I've probably rescued between 50 and 60 little kittens over the course of years. And the 2 that I have right now are 2 that we didn't rehome. So they
just tell me real quick, what are all their names? So you have Tigger, Gracie.
I have Tigger. I have Ruby, who is another kitty cat that we saved. I have Gracie, and then I have another little guy named Spike.
Oh my gosh. Well, look at that with rescuing cats. Okay, because that's what I talk to people a lot about, is how we're showing up in the world in beautiful ways, in the challenged ways, in the ways that we want to change, all the different ways that we show up. And you rescue animals, and there's just a little piece of that where when sometimes there's a version of ourself that we're trying to comfort. And sometimes we are to the world what that inner version of us may need. And there may have been that little girl version of you, that little 3-year-old that just wanted to feel rescued. Maybe it would be something you'd have to.
I just want to make everybody feel loved
and okay and taken care of. Yes. So it shows up even with your beautiful love for rescuing
Oh,
animals.
well, bless you.
I love,
Sometimes the hard thing is, where do you draw that line?
right?
That's the hard part, between loving other people and being there for other people and being there for yourself.
Yes.
It's drawing that line. Where does that line
Yes.
happen?
Yeah.
So,
And that's where the viewers, everybody that's watching and will watch in the replay, they'll find themselves in the story. That's the thing about this show. I love whenever people can find themselves in the story. So in finding themselves in your story, talk about then how people pleasing and codependency was showing up when you were married.
Well, when I was married, I was in a situation where my husband at the time wanted to better himself. That he
Mhm.
wanted to go to school. He wanted to learn he wanted to go into a different field.
Mm-hmm.
So he was spending a lot of time not at home. He worked a part-time job, and then he would go to school, and then he would be gone, in the evenings, going to study groups. So I never saw him, and I thought, that's okay. So I took on everything. I took on the bill paying and the grocery shopping and the cooking and the cleaning and the kids and the running and the dance and the taekwondo and the this and all that. And I just thought that I was being being a good wife and being a good and I had my questions as to what was going on, but I never felt like I should ask, well, maybe could you be home by 10 o'clock, some nights, so I could see you? And I just never allowed myself to be in that equation. I just wanted to be everything for him so that he could do everything he wanted to do. And I completely took myself out of the equation of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that he had found other interests, let's say.
Oh, I'm laughing the way you said it. But I'm so sorry. On one hand, and on the other hand, isn't it great when you could stumble on the truth?
Oh my gosh! And you know what? Like I said, God knows what He's doing, and it seems like He picks you up. And you know what? Don't get me wrong. We didn't just give up. We went to counseling, and there was a lot of work, and it wasn't getting divorced because I wasn't happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in that. God didn't, your marriage vows don't say, I will honor you and be faithful to you and stay with you until I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah.
To me, that's a symptom of something that you need to work out. So, we tried. It wasn't in His wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I don't hate Him. And have I forgiven Him? Of course I have. And I chief of sinners though I be, right?
Right. Well, aren't we all?
Yes.
Aren't we all?
We are. But and I never, and even through that, I never saw that that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in another marriage where that was a completely different situation, where I'm pretty sure that I was dealing with someone who had some pretty deep pain of his own.
Right. Yeah.
But took it out on everyone else around him. Mm-hmm. And I kind of tried, I constantly tried to make it better. And I constantly tried to see things through his eyes and never see through my eyes, and even through the eyes of my children, what was going on. And finally at one point just had to, the same thing. He found different interests and tried to work it out, and it didn't happen. And the same thing here. Even I can't hate. It's not in my, I can't hate, and I can't, I don't know. I just can't be, I'm not good at being angry. I'm not good at being angry. And I think part of that is because I always took everything on myself, and I don't even get angry at myself. Anger is not, I don't know. Maybe I need to learn. Maybe you need to sift through.
Well, I love, you said I don't, you're not capable of hating. And I want to go back to that sifting and the patience and being kind. But as you and I were talking and I was taking notes, I was telling you I could see this transformation on paper. as I was writing down your story, and you said you can't hate. And I was starting to see this transformation of you realizing you didn't need, not that you ever hated yourself, but you were starting to find a love for yourself and a sense of worthiness. And, we know that, and it's just understanding that we are also worthy of God's grace and grace toward ourselves.
Well, and I had always thought that selfishness, and we talked about this too. I think if you can boil every terrible thing every sin in the world down to its core, if we could sift that out, it would come down to it'd come down to selfishness. So I always thought that was such an awful, terrible thing that I tried to avoid it at all costs, selfishness of any kind. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it too. And I still do believe that selfishness, everything, every bad thing in this world boils down to selfishness, whether it's divorce or, extramarital affairs or stealing or, just, I don't know. Everything boils down to selfishness. So I never wanted to be a selfish person, but it didn't occur to me that I've always thought too that love comes first. Love comes first. Love first always. But that doesn't always mean that it has to go that you have to be able to. Gracie, goodness gracious. I think she's choking on her bear fur. She was playing with her bear. Now she's like,
Gracie, we love you. I love that her name is Gracie. I mean, how perfect is that? Who knew?
But again, I was, love first always. It didn't occur to me that you need to show yourself love as well. You're not someone's inferior. You are not someone's doorstep. And just because you stand up and say no, that doesn't mean that you're being selfish. It means that you're standing up for yourself, which is completely different.
Yes. And sometimes in our lives, this is such it's a great point to hang on to, is that sometimes in our lives, when we stumble on people that just maybe rub us the wrong way, or something that really might bother us at our core about other people or things that we've seen in our life, like you just mentioned, you don't want to be selfish. So maybe somewhere along the line, you found, you saw somebody being selfish, or the idea of being selfish just did not sit well in your soul. So sometimes we pendulum shift all the way over to the other side. Like, oh no, I'm not going to be even if I'm the slightest bit selfish, I'd be the worst person in the world. That would be horrible. So we're all the way over there hanging out. And the idea is kind of like within your story, or with anybody watching in your story, that just to be somewhere kind of in the middle, where it's okay. Sometimes, being selfish for ourselves is not a bad thing. Sometimes it's about self-care and worthiness and giving ourselves grace, and the opposite of that would just devastate us. But when we think about it, it's healthy to be a little bit, we don't have to use the word selfish, but willingness to give self-care and self-awareness and self-worthiness.
Right. And it's something that I really try and teach in my classroom. A big word in my classroom is integrity. That's one word that we talk about all the time. It's a big poster that's right by my door. And before we leave, we always say, were we safe? Were we respectful? Were we responsible? Did we do our best? But the big thing is, did we do it with integrity? And I said, integrity is something that's going to follow you your whole life. If you never learn to sing a note, if you never learn to write, a tune or a melody, if you never learn to play an instrument, you're going to be okay. But if you don't have integrity, you're not. And part of having integrity is loving yourself enough to act that way.
Yes.
To make those choices.
Yes.
So I'm always teaching kids, do the right thing, even when no one is, and they say looking right, because you're someone who chooses that. That's who you are. That's such a great thing. Here's the secret of life. Good choices, poor choices, make good choices and do it for yourself, because it's good for you. And it ripples out to other people. Yes.
Let's stay on that. Well, in a second here, making good choices and it ripples out. I want to go to that. But I also wanted to say how you didn't like, you can't hate. And you were talking about when you were married and your 2 marriages and not having hate. And, that's the beauty in that discovery of we don't have to hate. That's what I'm passionate about. Everybody has a story, even our offenders. And when we can make that shift and see the story, even though maybe we are the offended, we can see the story from their vantage point. And that does not mean that we don't have to have boundaries and that we need to allow people to walk all over us. But we can see their story with understanding and forgiveness because it frees us. It frees us when we hear their story of what they might have gone through, but they have to be accountable for their story.
Right. I think that's something, the word love is so misunderstood in the world today. Mm-hmm. Because I think as a Christian person, for us, love means that we want you to be with us in heaven. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We want forever. There was a girl, I don't know if you ever met Robin Sonneveld. She was Miss Muskegon.
It's so funny. I thought I would. Yeah, I know. Oh, I definitely know the name for sure. Yes.
Robin Sonneveld, and she was a Christian contemporary singer. She is, and I've lost track of her. I don't know where she went, but oh my gosh, now I just lost track of the story because now I was thinking of the
Oh no, she might have sang "How Great Thou Art" if it's who I'm thinking of. But
you're thinking Dana.
Okay, yeah.
But
no,
Dana,
I know Robin's name, but we were talking about having understanding for the offender, and that in today's world, what the word love means, and wanting to be with others in heaven, and doing things in love, and you don't have to. It doesn't have to be hate, but it's
one of the songs. That's it. That's what I was thinking. One of the songs that she had was "Being Here with You for a Lifetime Isn't Enough." Oh. I want to spend the eternity with you. And she was talking about how a divided house can't stand, a divided house will fall when one heart loves the Father and the other not at all. Mm-hmm, and talking about how in this world love is one thing, but Christian love is when you love people in terms of forever, of eternity. Mm-hmm. So
it's that love of Jesus, But
the world doesn't understand that.
Right.
They think love means that you're going to let me do whatever I want, whenever I want, say whatever I want, be whoever I want. And that's tough because we do want to accept people for who they are. And we do love people for who they are,
of course.
And we do want people to make their own choices and be free to do that. But we also want to be free to say, I love you in a Christian way as well.
Yes. And they have their own journey. But if it's harming you, hurting you, that we also can be accountable for what we deserve in that worthiness. And so I love that, doing things in love. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's such an empowered way to be able to do things in love, to be able to speak your truth, and which that leads right into the concept of codependency. And there's so many different definitions of codependency, but one of them, there's different ways that it shows up in our life, but a lot of it is in relationships. And when we can state our truth and that we mean something and be able to stand on that and be okay when the other person, so many arguments happen in marriages and when we have to fight our point. We're codependent, and if they're not okay and they don't understand, then we're not okay and we have to keep fighting. But I would love for you to talk about how that codependency showed up in your relationships and in your world. And I would love for you then to share your song or your poem that you say to your students. And it's just such a great symbol of you standing your ground in love, saying it what it is.
Well, for a long time, I thought that I just didn't have that I didn't have the confidence, that I wasn't worthy of saying what I felt. When things were going wrong, I thought that, and this goes along with the codependency, how I don't deserve to say my piece. I don't deserve to be part of this equation. I'm not worthy. But then I realized that it was more so, it wasn't so that much that I didn't deserve it. It was more about fear and about loss.
Right.
Like I was it was about I was being dishonest, first of all. And I was being dishonest. I wasn't being myself. I wasn't saying what I needed. I wasn't saying what I thought, which is dishonest. And the reason that I was doing it was maybe partially because I thought I wasn't worthy of it. But the biggest thing was fear, fear that they were going to walk away.
Yeah, it's, oh my gosh, it's such a driving force, fear. Yes.
But you have to step back. You know what? I would have fought somebody tooth and nail to say, somebody who said to me, you're dishonest. You are not an honest person. You are being dishonest. And I would have fought tooth and nail. What do you mean? I don't lie. I don't cheat. I don't steal. You are not being honest because you're not saying exactly what you feel when you feel it. And that is not fair to the other person. You're being dishonest. You're not being fair. How can they treat you like you need to be treated if you never tell them how you need to be treated?
Yes. We teach people how to treat us.
Oh yeah. So I didn't stand up for myself and I didn't say, and you're right. It was just this codependent, like it was a dance all the time. It was like the person that was my second marriage. It was just like, we needed each other in our own insufficiencies.
Yeah. And I think
each other's deficiencies that way.
Yes. That's going to speak to a lot of people because I think when you start telling the truth, that's what you find. That's what you sift out. That's what you discover.
You have to love yourself enough, give yourself enough grace to tell the truth, you know, and be able to stand up in it after you've said it and say, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I think. This is how I feel. And to understand that God has your back in that. And if those people walk away from you because of who you really are, you know, first of all, they're missing out.
Yes, of course. You know, go ahead.
Oh, and second of all, you're going to be okay. Hi, Gracie.
How cute.
I'm your girly. Oh, this Gracie.
Oh my gosh. So precious.
Gracie. My little
oh, look at her. You're literally holding on to Grace. I love it.
Holding my Grace.
Oh, so sweet. I love all of that. And I know that people watching are going to find themselves in this story. And that's the beauty of being able to share these stories.
I hope so. I can't tell you. I just feel like I'm just going talking about these things with you. So I thank you for that. This is a great opportunity.
It's my honor. And I can't wait to do more of that when a project that I'm working on is over. And, you know, they're going to be, I was explaining them to you. They're like trainings that are recorded that people can go on and do modules. But you said this. And so if you guys hear one of my programs called Epiphany Training, it's because Sandy just said it earlier when we were talking off camera. She said, basically what you do is Epiphany Training. And I was like, what? I wrote it down.
Workshop. It's like this little workshop that you go to come to your epiphany.
Yes, Epiphany Workshop. That is what a gift. Because I'm always going, what am I going to call it? That is beautiful. And one of the things that in these workshops that I talk about is, I'll just say, it's time to start telling the truth. And people are like, oh, like, what do you mean? I don't lie.
Right.
You know, I remember one time I went in the kitchen. It was years ago every day we're going through transformations, right? We're making discoveries. We're in the fire. We're being refined. And I went in the kitchen and it was just a really bad day. And I said to David, I said, I am such a liar. I am so sick of walking through my life telling lies. He's like, what are you talking about? You don't lie. And I'm like, I'm lying to myself all the time. I am lying when I act like I'm okay, when I know I'm not being treated the right way or whatever it is. Sometimes we stumble on the truth, like Winston Churchill says, and we get up and we walk away like nothing ever happens. And we lie to ourselves. And that's where I'm hoping everybody watching can hear that in their story. Do you lie to yourself? Do you say, you know what, they've shown me their true colors, but you know, it's okay. I don't even deserve to speak up. Hey,
you're not doing anybody any favors.
No, look,
doing anybody any favors, like my classroom.
Yes.
I happen to work in a school that has
Yes.
some really high needs kids and some really interesting behaviors. And do you know, for a while, I was letting it go over my head. I'm like, I am not doing these kids any favors. I'm going to tell them how this makes me feel.
Right.
You know, when you treat me this way, it makes me feel this way. What are we going to do about that? What other choices can you make? A friend of mine who teaches, she teaches kindergarten. She said, a bug. She said, when something's bothering you, you use a bug and a feel, a bug and a wish, a bug and a wish. It bugs me when you do this. I wish you would do this.
Oh, that's so good.
Isn't that great?
Gosh, that is awesome.
Little kids, like when somebody, you know, they'll come up and tattle. That's one thing about summer. It's like, whoo, no tattling.
Yeah.
They come up and they tattle, and you say, you know what? Go give them a bug and a wish.
That is brilliant.
Isn't that brilliant? I love it. It bugs me when you do this. I wish you would do this.
That is so good. Those are the little
love yourself enough.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. Would you tell everybody about? Of course, you put it into a song or a poem. Of course, the rhyme, because you are a creative. So tell everybody. And when you were telling the story, I'm like, see, that's where your worthiness of you, like saying it firmly and owning it, is just shining through.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is what I say when we get out, especially our recorders, because when my little third graders get their recorders in their hands for the first time, they just can't help it. You know, they can't help it. Yeah. So this is what I tell them every day when they come in, at least for the first little while. If you play when you're not supposed to play, you put your instrument away. I say what I mean what I say. This is your only warning today, but I know that you'll do just okay, because you all heard what I just had to say. Don't play when you're not supposed to play, okay? And they say, okay.
That is so good. You make it so fun learning, and you found a way to make it fun to teach people how to respect you, to teach your students, okay, this is the line, and here's what's going to happen, and we don't even need to get upset about it. You're just going to put it away.
Well, and I don't even, you know, it's so funny. Here you are sifting again. You know, I don't even realize that I'm teaching kids to love themselves, you know, as well, because, you know, when we talk about those choices, you know, you could choose to do this or you could choose to do this, which is going to help you, you know, and then ripple out. It's gonna, you know, am I going to be respectful? Which is better, being respectful to my friends or being disrespectful? Why? Because it helped. And you know, it's I don't know. It's awesome to see the kids latching onto those things. It was one of the best days in my life of teaching. We were at an assembly, and it was the end of the school year, and the principal was asking the kids what was one big lesson, what was one of the biggest, best lessons that they learned being at our school. And one little girl raised her hand, and she said, "We learned integrity from Miss Mativa.
Oh my God.
We learned always to do the right thing, even when no one is looking." And I was like,
those are the moments.
And that's going to make her life so much better. But I think now I'm going to even put more emphasis on do the right thing, even when no one is looking. Why? Because it's going to help you, you know, it's going to help you be a better person. It's going to help you come to the point where you feel empowered to say, this is what I believe. This is what I think. This is what I stand for. And this is who I am, you know, and be honest and truthful about that as well. So I think that's going to be another big umbrella theme I add in this year when I go back to school.
That is that's such confirmation there. And to hear it from one of your students, it just, that had to just, I love that moment for you.
Oh my gosh. That was the best. If I, you know, when I think about top 10 moments, that's number one.
That is beautiful. And again, yeah, her life is going to be forever changed. And there's so many times where people that achieve success, or they're on a show, or they win, you know, American Idol or something. I love hearing celebrities talk about their teacher that made a difference in their life. You're gonna be in a lot of stories, even if you don't know the stories yet, and maybe you'll never hear the stories. I'm sure you'll be in many.
Well, here's one good thing about being a music teacher. I have about between 400 and 500 students every year. I've been doing this for 30 years. So everywhere I go,
you see you see your students for 30 years. You don't even, oh my God, it's hard to believe that you've been teaching for 30 years. You don't look like it's possible that you've been teaching for 30 years.
God, love you.
I love it.
Makeup is a wonderful thing, my friend.
No, no, you're I'm naturally beautiful. I know that as well because I've seen you. So let's talk also with codependency. You and I were talking about something that I think will be really useful for people. Is if we are dealing with people in our lives, it could be an abusive situation, dealing with someone that is a narcissist. And on this show, and I know even in your life, like there is no judgment. Last week's show was about shame. It's not about shaming anybody. Like I just said, everybody has their stories, but we have to meet the story where it is too. Like you were saying, we have to say this is not happening. This person is not treating me right. That's just a fact. So when we were talking about how we show up in codependency and people pleasing, is I know I've described abuse or narcissism as a cycle, and you were saying that you recognize that as well. And I wanted to share that because other people might relate to this too. Because until you can put your finger on a visual like this, you can get lost in it. And the cycle is like a clock.
It's crazy making.
It's crazy making. Yes. It's there's a book upstairs called the Vicious Cycle, I think, or he refers to the vicious cycle in relationships. But you're dealing with a person. It's like a clock. So like at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, things are fine, and then like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you feel this pressure cooker. You can feel it boiling, and then there's this explosion or poor treatment, or the narcissism just comes shining through. And then there's a massive explosion or bad behavior or treating the person improperly, not the way that they all deserve to be treated. And then there's the chance that, maybe they'll leave. Like maybe they're going to leave. So they start shaping up and they'll do anything for the person. And that's where they latch on to the people pleasing of the offended. And then, then it's like, it's the best behavior and it's wonderful. And around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on the clock, they're perfect behavior. And that's where the people pleaser says, I couldn't, okay. And I don't deserve to speak up, or I'm going to people please. And that's the vicious cycle. And
you know what, the craziest part of it is not uncommon. I mean, it's very common. It's pretty much cookie cutter for everyone who is in a narcissistic web, and you don't even know it. It's out there. It happens like in every narcissistic, codependent relationship. That is exactly the pattern of what happens. Right. But unless you know, it's really difficult to step outside. I always say, how did I get out of it? Someone helped me step outside the box of it. Yes. I always felt myself in a flushing toilet, kind of like going, help me. What is going on? Until you can step outside of that and look at it for what it is. And you're right. It's like everything is great. When you meet that person, you are their everything. You are wonderful and you are beautiful and you are so smart and you're a great mom and you're all this stuff. And that is pounded in for, it doesn't take long for it to pound in, because usually they know who to look for. They know to look for someone who is willing to please. Yes. It is like a bait. It is. It's like it's a gravitating to somebody that is a people pleaser, is caught majorly in codependency. Even, someone like yourself, you said at a very young age, that's it. I'm going to be taking care of you, with not saying it. Your subconscious told you, I'm going to be taking care of everybody. I need to make sure everybody's okay. And that's where that anchored in. And that's why stories are so, so important. And again, the other person's story, And there's always that person has that little kind of sad story in their life. Yeah. That you latch onto and you empathize with, and you want them to be okay. And, and that goes on, and then you're hooked. So then you get into, like, let's say a marriage, And all of a sudden, these things start coming out where your ideas aren't very good. I don't know why you do things this way.
Right.
I'm not sure why you think that. Well, that's ridiculous. Well, you don't have any common sense. And then all of a sudden, like you said, there's this big blow up of just like, where did this come from? And you're on the verge of saying, okay, I need to be done, or you need to go. And then it all just blossoms into hearts and flowers and and you're like, okay, everything's better. Ooh, everything's better. You know, he's just he's a hurt, sad, you know, person, and we can work this out. It's going to be okay. The two of us can do this. And that whole pattern goes over and over. And you end up being conditioned and living for making that hearts and flowers and beautiful time frame happen again. So you do everything in your power to be everything and do everything. And I remember days where I would hear that person's truck pull into the driveway and I'd be like, oh, what didn't I do? Or what didn't somebody do? Or is there something that needed to be picked up? Or, and you just work and you think that that's normal. You work yourself into that situation where you think that you are the ridiculous person who has to tap dance 24/7 to make everything perfect for this other person. And then until you step out of the box, you go, wait a minute. I was giving 150%. And all I was doing was being torn down for, and then you step back a little further and you can see that clock.
Yes. What you just said is so important. It's a passion of mine. I had to learn it myself, but to help other, to give this to people to see, to grab onto, that we can be, I call them paralyzing perspectives. And I talk about it all the time.
That is so perfect.
We're so, like, I always grab something and I put it like way up to the camera like this. I'm like, if you had put this up here, you cannot, like, what is that? I can't see what it is because you're too close, but like, it's a pen. But you have,
my gosh, that is so perfect.
That one point alone, I always start with that, because paralyzing perspectives and sabotaging experiences, they are a recipe for disaster in our lives. And when we're just so close and we can pull back and have that 30,000 foot view. That's why we lean on God. And so one of the many reasons is he knows the whole tapestry. He can see it all, and he can comfort us in that blanket of comfort.
You are going to be such a huge blessing to so many people, because, you know, there are a lot of people who don't know they need to talk these things out. I didn't know. I mean, I knew that I was miserable 90% of the time. And that 10% where everything was hearts and flowers, I didn't know that wasn't normal.
Yes.
I did not know that wasn't normal. But hopefully, you know, you getting out there and just having these talks with people and being able to show them that perspective from the outside. That's going to be huge in people's lives.
Well, you know, it's a passion and it's an honor, because I've walked it. I've walked it. The stories may not be the same, but it's beautiful. And you know this too, because that's what your story is founded on. That's the full circle of your story, is you were able to see it and then honor it. And then, you know, play it out in your classroom. It's such a game changer. And so you were talking about your faith, and how your faith was right along with you, the undertone there of all of your experiences. And you said there was scripture in Corinthians that really spoke to you, but then you were able to shift it and see it in a different light. What was that in Corinthians?
It was 1 Corinthians 13, you know, talking about love. I don't know if you can see this. I have faith.
Oh, I love it. That's beautiful.
Hope. Where is it? Can you see it? Hope.
I can see it.
I don't know. Can you see that?
Oh, yes. Does it say
love?
Love, I assumed. That's beautiful.
Faith, hope, and love. So that's always been one of my very favorite scriptures, talking about love and how love is patient and love is kind and love doesn't hold grudges, and love always gives and always perseveres and always. And I always saw that as this kind of love. But you have to understand that Christ loved you, that he what is grace? Grace is undeserved love that Christ loved us
Yes.
while we were still sinners. Christ loves me too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I need to understand that if he can love me, I can love me too.
Oh, that is beautiful. That's the full circle of it all. That's what this show today was about, is to be able to go full circle and see that we are all deserving of every single one of us, the offenders, the offended,
right?
And just especially to just give that. It's like when we can give ourselves permission to discover that worthiness of grace. I love that, Sandy. I have loved our time together. I want to give you a chance to end on anything that you would like to end on before we go, and then I'll wrap up at the very end.
I guess I just want to say that you are worthy of speaking your piece,
mm-hmm.
and that you are, be afraid of not speaking your piece. It's
mm-hmm.
it's going to come and bite you
mm-hmm.
Eventually. Don't think that that's a bad thing. It's a good thing for
mm-hmm.
you to allow yourself to yourself to love yourself enough to show up and stand up and speak up
mm-hmm.
for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're no one's inferior. Your thoughts matter. And if you think that you might be one of those people who is seeing this perspective,
mm-hmm.
and not seeing life for real, find somebody to talk to. It doesn't have to be a counselor. It can just be a friend.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a pastor. Pastors are great friends to talk to,
mm-hmm.
because they can always tie in the love of God into the conversation as well. So
yeah, that's the truth. I always search for anybody in our family that needs, wants to go see a counselor. I always want it to be a Christian base, so they can be heard and have the knowledge, but also have that streaming in of the truth as well as a foundation. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That was what you just said was beautiful. This whole conversation was beautiful. It was a blessing to so many. And
you're a blessing to so many.
Oh gosh, it's an honor. It's an honor to do what we both do. When you, like we said, when you come full circle and you're on the other side of the story, it's a blessing to be able to share that wisdom with others, because you know what? We had that wisdom from others as we were going along, right?
Right. True. I don't hate being my age. It's a good thing.
I don't either. With our age comes wisdom. And
yes, thank God. Thank you, God.
That's exactly right. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Sandy. Hold on one second. I want to talk with you when I'm completely done. So hold on one second. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Your time and your story.
God bless you.
Oh, God bless you. I'll see you in just a minute. Oh, I hit that button too soon, but thank you so much. I didn't mean to cut her off there, but what a powerful message and what a powerful story. And that's what this show is all about, is shining a light on other people and their stories and the way that God is weaving through the tapestry of our lives. So I hope that you were able to pick up today the underlying message is that, it's wonderful to be kind to others. That's a wonderful gift, to be able to be kind to others, but not at the expense of your own peace, your own health. Ask yourself, have you been checked out by doctors and everything's okay, but you just don't feel good? When you lay your head on the pillow at the end of the day and you just feel like something is off, you don't feel right. When somebody says, "How are you?" and you just give the standard, "I'm fine, I'm totally fine, I'm fine, fine." But in your heart, you feel like, maybe that's a bit of a lie. I don't feel so good. As Sandy called it, and I'm going to use that analogy, start sifting. I love the concept of sifting out our stories. It's my passion in this world, is to sift out stories, to help other people do that. So, and if you ever want somebody to talk to sift through your story, you can always find me. You can reach me through my website, which is marlorutz.com. You can contact me there. I would love to walk alongside of you with your stories. So you are worthy of grace. You are worthy of all the beauty in the world, and you are worthy of peace. We really, really are. Even if you think you're not, oh, you are. That grace of Jesus that grace that Jesus gives us, we are all worthy of that, every single one of us. So until next week, I send you all love And it was an honor to be here today with Sandy. And thank you again, Sandy, for your time. Bye, everybody.